In today's video, I'm going to be going over how I made Clix's header step by step. Just want to go ahead and say that in order to make a header like this, you would need the following: Blender, Photoshop, and 3D models. If you don't have any of those files, the links will be provided down below in the description. A lot of people have been telling me recently that I've gone too fast in my tutorial, so this video will be hopefully around 20 to 30 minutes of full explanation on how to create a header like this one. Also, make sure to leave any questions down below if you are curious about how I did something, or if you simply just have an idea or a concern about the header. But with all that out of the way, let's get started. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to go to File, New, then you're going to put these inches to pixels, and you're going to set this to 3000 by 1000. Make sure the resolution is on 300. So we're just going to go ahead and select OK now. Alright, so once you've done that, either you have a black background, white background, or transparent. If you don't have a black background, make this background black. Alright, so obviously in order to make this header, you're going to need a 3D model. Now, if you don't have the file, it will be down in the description for the Sparkplug header. Shout out to Grunge on YouTube. He has all the download links for these models, majority of them at least, that you can find. And if you don't find them in the downloads, you can always go and learn how to port. Me personally, I don't port. It just seems too much of a hassle when I have all the models already there in the downloads and they're already rigged and everything, so I can just go grab those and put it into the scene and put it into the pose that I'm wanting. So let me show you exactly how to do this. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is you want to open up Blender. Your Blender might look different than mine because I have a startup file that's different than yours. It just honestly is just whatever you guys have as your preference. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to File, Append, and I'm going to go ahead and find the Sparkplug. What you're going to do is you're going to double click this blend file. You're going to go into your objects and you're going to highlight both of these files. Then once you highlight both of these, all you got to do is hit Append. And if your model is too big like this, all you're simply going to want to do is deselect everything, click the bones, hit S on your keyboard, and you just drag to a decent size. Now with this being said, we have the file all imported nicely, and if you're wondering why it's like this, all you gotta simply do is go to the viewpoint shading tab, and then all the textures will load in. Depending on your computer's speed, it might take a little bit for the textures to load in, but it shouldn't take too long. Alright, so now with that being said, what we're gonna do is we're gonna simply tick this button right here. We're gonna show the bones. I'm gonna come down to this little arrow tab and select this person icon. What this is going to do is once we select it, it'll allow me to edit every single bone on this model. Now, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and put up a image reference on the screen right now of the header of what we're looking for. So pretty much what we're going to do, I'm gonna go to back to object mode, and I'm gonna go to add, and we're gonna add a camera. So now with this being said, what we're gonna do is we're simply going to select the camera. We're going to hit the move icon. We're gonna rotate our thing by holding our middle mouse button and dragging. Click the little green arrow and just move it back. Then hit the blue one and go up on the Z axis. And if you go to the view and you go to viewpoint and you go to top, you'll be able to see how this camera lines up to your character. Now, make sure if you go into your camera view, which is just this little button right here, simply all you gotta do is click, go to this little icon right here of the location of the camera. What you're going to want to do is change your x-axis to 90, and all the y and the z axis, just change these to 0. What this will do is give you a perfectly aligned character to the distance of the camera. Now, since your header was 3000 by 1000, we're gonna make this render 3000 by 1000. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this output property, and we're going to set our resolution x to 3000 and set our y to 1000. Now once you're done with that, one thing that I like to do to see the render better is tick this little button called render region. Whenever we import our HDRI and we go to the viewport that's actually rendered with our HDRI, it will only render whatever is inside of our camera, so it saves a little bit on the render time and helps your computer process better. So if you have a slower computer, make sure to tick that render region, or else it might take a little longer. But with that being said, now we have to import the textures. So obviously I already have the textures done, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how I do my textures, so you know it gives you a better opportunity to make up some custom characters in the future for you guys. So what you're gonna want to do if you want to save these textures is go to the UV editing tab right at the top here, and once you go to this, it's gonna look decently weird, but in pretty much it's actually really easy. So all we're gonna do is select the object of the model, come over here, and just find each texture that you're gonna want to color. So for an example, this obviously is the body. You can tell by the feet, you can tell by, you know, the shirt, the pants. This is a very easy model to understand and a very easy texture. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to save this. What you're simply going to do is you want to go over to your image tab. You want to hit save as, and what you're going to do is just find and locate wherever you want to save your thing. I already have this saved, so I'm not going to go ahead and save it again. So I'm just going to hit cancel, but you guys are going to make sure to want to save that in a particular spot to where you can find it whenever you open up your Photoshop. So now that we're back into Photoshop, I'm simply just going to go to file, open, and I'm going to open up those files real quick. Alrighty guys, so I have the file open here. This is the file for the actual model. This is the texture file that I used for the Clix header. So pretty much what I did here is I desaturated everything, but certain things I kept saturated. So for an example, this skin right here, I didn't even touch the skin. The only thing that I colored was the actual tattoo on here because I didn't like the color of the tattoo. I think the tattoo was brown, but I went ahead and recolored that to be black. So what you want to do is color the things that you want to be colored and make sure, obviously, like the skin tones, keep those the same. Unless you're wanting to make a design for something like that, then you can change the skin tones, but pretty much you just want to do what your design is. I'm not gonna lie, some of these textures can be really complicating, and understanding what you're coloring is a little different. So one of the things that I like to do here is I like to go over to the UV editing tab, and obviously keeping the texture that you have here, what you're going to simply want to do is go to object edit mode and simply deselect everything by clicking in the side. And then let's say you want to see this belt, all you're going to do is simply highlight these vertices, and you'll notice right here that whenever you color something here, it's gonna be on this belt. So pretty much it's like a good way to understand what you're coloring without having to actually, you know, color something, plug into the texture again, plug it back in, do it in again. You know, it's a very easier way to see what you're coloring beforehand before you have to guess and choose. But with that being said, once you color all your objects and make sure you have the god object of what you want, simply what you're gonna do is go to file, save as, and you're gonna wanna save this as a TGA file. So what you're gonna do is simply save this wherever you want. I'm not gonna save it just because I already have it. And now I'm gonna go back over to Blender and show you guys how to plug in those textures to get it right. Alright guys, so we are back with the layout tab, and pretty much what we're gonna do now is we're gonna plug in these textures. So simply what you're gonna want to do is click on the object itself, go down here and just pull up on this timeline. Now simply all you gotta do now is go to this little clock tab, go all the way down till you see shader edit. Once you click this, it's gonna look a little confusing, but I'm gonna do a pretty much like a 5-second summary on this real quick to show you guys what this is. So in order for the object to be changed, you have to be in the object tab. In order for the world to be changed, you got to go to the world tab. Don't mess with the world tab until we go into the HDRI. This is where we will place the HDRI for the lighting of the character. So pretty much I'm going to go back to the object tab. Now simply you'll see here a lot of textures in here. Don't click any of these. Only things you need to worry about is the slots. This slot is going to allow you to texturize each individual part of the body, different kinds of textures. So for an example, this body texture right here is selected for the body. If we go over here to the diffuse one, this is pretty much the only one you'll ever touch. Go over to this diffuse one, click here, hit exit, hit open. Go ahead and find the texture to where you saved it, wherever you colored it. Mine's going to be body.tga. And I'm gonna open this, and as you can see, it is now fully textured. Now what I'm simply gonna do is hit this slot. I'm gonna go to Sarah head, and then I'm simply just going to exit this. Color of the face is black now, meaning that it's missing the texture. We're gonna go ahead and open it up. We're going to go to our random textures tab. This is just for me of where I saved it personally. And I'm going to go ahead and find face, open image, and then tada, you are done. We have the face here. Alright guys, so now that we are simply in here, we are in the hat tab. What we're simply going to do is hit this X. We're going to go to open, and then we're going to go to the random textures tab. So we're simply just going to import the hat here. So we're going to hit open, and then boom. There we go. The model is fully textured now. You're just going to want to simply get into the pose that you want, but we'll got to make sure that this is going to fit inside the camera. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on this little camera on the side of this camera, make sure you're in object mode, make sure this is not ticked, and what you're simply just going to do is go down to the location tab. You're going to move this on the location of the y-axis until you fit inside where you're wanting. Now if you want to rotate the body of the character, me personally, I don't like moving the body of the character because it messes up the poses and it messes up the rigs. So what I like to do is select the camera, and I like to move it off these axes here. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this over just a little bit, and I'm going to move this on the location tab to be about right here. And you know, you can mess with this, get it to the point that you want for your tab, and simply you can do it anyway. Okay, for this particular video, I already have the render for this, so I'm not going to re-render it, but I'm going to show you the render settings that I like to use. For all banners, I'm simply just going to come over here, go to the render engines of cycles. We're going to go to the device of GPU compute. We're going to go ahead and change the render to 1260. We're going to go all the way down to the film tab. We're going to go to transparent, make sure that is ticked. Now simply what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go back over to our shader editor, which is this right down here. We're going to go from the object and we're going to switch it to world. This is where we're going to insert our HDRI. Make sure to listen to this. What we're going to do is we're going to hit Shift A on our keyboard, go over to search. What we're going to do is type in environment texture. Once you do that, you simply just got to click and then click once more, and then it won't move. Simply now all you gotta do is drag this color to this color and make sure they attach. Now, what you're gonna do if you don't have an HDRI that you like to use, make sure to go down in the description and grab the HDRI that I have. This HDRI is very, very hard on PCs. It might take a little bit to load, but it will load if your PC is decent. I'm gonna go ahead and find mine, which is right here. And we're gonna go ahead and insert Delta 2 16K HDR, and we're gonna head and open this. Nothing will happen until we tick this little button right here. Once we tick this, it might take a little bit to load. If you don't want the bones to show, click this little button right here. Alrighty guys, the model is fully shaded and rendered. Now simply all you gotta do to render this is you're completely done. All you gotta do is go to render image. It might take a few seconds to render, but that's about it guys. So I will meet you guys into Photoshop once this is done. Alright guys, so what I'm gonna do is I'm pretty much gonna go ahead and open up the original PSD and show you, you know, kind of a step-by-step on what my thoughts were when I was making this and how I made it in general. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so obviously we start out with a black background, and then the next thing what you want to do is I went ahead and placed in my character. So I'm gonna go ahead and find the character here, which is right here. And then simply what I like to do with my character is I like to place a curve on it. What this does is it makes the shadows and the highlights go up or down depending on the way that you turn. So for an example, here is my curve. For this one I went down and I plunged this just a little bit up. What this does is it makes the black and the shadows go down and darker, and it makes the light go just up a little bit on the tones that are subject to be lighter. I'm gonna go ahead and tick this off and on to show you guys the difference. Alright, and now with that being said, what I did next is I wanted to get the text aligned with the background. And I'm gonna be honest, I did not want to make the actual text small on like the side here or the side here. It just didn't give me a vibe that I liked. So I went ahead and made it big to the background. I wanted to make sure whenever someone went onto someone's profile and they see this, they want to read the actual name. If someone's new, they're going into your profile and they don't know your name, obviously they could read the username, but what's better than, you know, actually seeing on the header? It's way better to see that on the header, to be able to fully read the name of the header and be very clean. Now obviously this is not very clean right now because you don't know what this says. If you're a new person, you just click on this profile, you don't know what that says. It could mean anything. What I did is I added an outline to the text. What this does is it gives a really nice clean effect here to be able to read the whole thing. It's really the L goes over the body a little bit. This stroke is actually on a screen overlay right now just because it gives a really cool effect here for the darker and the lighter tones. It kind of lets it seep through a little bit, and I really like how it does that. So with that being said, this black background really needs to go. It needs, you know, a little bit of a spice. So what I like to do is I like to add a grunge, and this grunge is simply, I don't know, it's really in a GFX pack that I found, and pretty much this was on 100%. The layer styles doesn't look good on this, the blending mode, so I just placed this on 4%, and then that is done. One thing I needed to add is a little bit more effects and a little bit more textures, so I went ahead and found these images off Google, placed it on a screen overlay, placed it on the divide blend mode, and I pretty much just kept this because it looked really nice, and I really like the vibe that it gave me here. So I placed these here and I placed these here, and I honestly placed this at the top just because it was giving me a little bit of uneven vibes when I placed it on the right and the left, so I went ahead and placed it on the top too. It's a pretty cool effect that I like that I made in this header, and honestly I don't think this header would have came out as nice as it did without this effect. So I noticed the back of the character was very dark, so what I went ahead and did is just grab my brush and I just literally turned it to white and click. Pretty much all I did. That's simply all you have to do to get like a really nice light source. Majority of the times people over exaggerate on their headers of like lighting, but pretty much all you gotta do is guys is just place some like a white or whatever color that your header is vibing with inside, and it will make your shit way better. I kid you not. Alright, so what I want to do is I placed a little effect over this white and just, you know, made it a little lighter just because I didn't want it too plain of white. So I went ahead and turned this down to a 59% on the opacity, and it gives a little bit of a texture to the actual text. With that being said guys, there's really not much left to do besides, you know, a little bit of the actual cool effects and designs that goes along with this header. So what I did now is I like to place a little bit of these little like effects to it. So what this simply is just an overlay of a stroke onto this image. This is of his organization. It was a pretty clean thing. What I like to keep is I like to keep the sponsors, the organization, and the person's name on it. That's pretty much the only things you need to do in a header as design aspect wise. So the next thing I like to do is I see this in a lot of organizations and like the kind of style that's trending right now. Pretty much what they'll do is they'll add like a little plus sign or these little brackets to give a really cool effect. And pretty much, guys, I don't know how many comments I get daily on asking me how I make this effect, where can I download these at. It is very, very simple. Every keyboard has it, every Photoshop has the same amount. It's very, very simple. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you the ones that I used on here. If you notice right here, it is literally a stroke with the color overlay. There's multiple different ways to do this, but here's the easiest way. I'm gonna go ahead and actually open up a new PSD for this really quickly so I can show you. Simply all you're gonna do is hit T on your keyboard. You're gonna click inside. What you're simply gonna do is place these little greater than or less than signs, and once you do this, all you gotta do is go over to your fill tab right here. You're gonna drag this all the way down to 0. Now you're gonna see nothing for now until you double click inside this and you go into your layer styles. You're simply gonna hit the stroke tab, and boom, you get the effect that literally everybody asked for, and everybody wants this. Now keeping in mind, this is fully transparent, meaning that you can place in any document in here and put this bottom and it will see through here, so you don't have to worry about that black color making it not stay out if you didn't have like a black background or any color that matches the actual background. All right, so with that being said, guys, I pretty much just placed these in like random spots that I felt was right. Now one of the things that I did is I noticed in every single header of Clix, it always has this use code not Clix, so I had to add that. Honestly, in this banner as we set right here, I noticed that, you know, there was a lot of negative space over here, so simply what I did is I just literally made an overlay of a stroke like I did for this one, and literally this effect right here is the same aspects of what we do for the ones that I just showed you for these pluses and these little arrows here. So it's very easy. It's the same shit that I do over and over for those. It's literally the same effect that you can repeat in a header to make it look better. That's pretty much what I did here for this Clix letter and this click word right here. It fills up some of that negative space and makes a pretty much overall cool header for the outcome. Now last but not least, what I did to fill up a lot of the negative space down here is sponsors. Now not everybody has a sponsor and not every header is gonna need a sponsor. It's pretty much just if you need them, you can plug them in there, and that's pretty much what I did here. So I'm gonna go ahead and tick these sponsors on. I tried to keep them black and white, you know, or black and orange to keep the same thing, but some of the ones I kept them the same here. Like this one right here, I kept it yellow just because I don't want to turn that black and white, because I feel like it needs to stand out with the same colors of the actual one. There's a lot of things you can do different in headers. There's a lot of multiple ideas that a lot of people come up with. Very unique. This is just the way that I did it. This is the blue header that I made. I mean, honestly, I didn't expect him to really use it, but he did. And with that being said, guys, if you guys want more tutorials like this in the future, go ahead and leave a subscribe and leave a comment, like the video. Make sure to comment down below what you want to see next. And if you have any questions on this video, make sure to comment them down below. I will answer every single question in this comment section. If you guys want to see me do these live, I do stream on Twitch. Here and there, I do, you know, design aspects. I do stream Fortnite. I stream almost everything. If you guys want to go ahead and drop me a follow, it would be very, very appreciated. But yep, that's pretty much it, guys. Hope you like this video. Make sure to tune in for the next one. For now, I will see you in the next one. Peace out.